it's all in line with what you were all saying. It's about that building those human-centric, what I read in a book, Deliberately Developmental Organization, where we transform the way we learn and we change how we define leadership. And I think these are some of the principles that I touch on in the book. And the acronym, which means it's about planting the seed for a better future. It's the seeds for change in an increasingly changing world and an ever-changing world. It's about sensing, that's what the first letter, which is the S. We need to start cultivating intelligence that is not always based on facts and based on the cognitive or based on the head, and which goes in line with what you were talking about the empathy and emotions, and also developing the intuition, because we live in such an unpredictable world, and we can no longer know what's going to happen. So we can't wait for the facts to make a logical, practical decision. We need to be courageous enough. Leaders of the future will have to embrace courage, and will have, like Paula was mentioning, sometimes you don't have all the answers. And you need to embrace that vulnerability and make the decision based on what feels right. I feel that people don't resist their own ideas. So when engagement is done right, where everyone understands that sense of urgency, instead of pitching the need of change, maybe ask, this is one question that I always throw in when I facilitate board meetings, and I go, what if we don't change? And I flip it and have them start looking themselves at the problems that could happen. Okay, you don't want to change, so let's start thinking, what if we don't change? And then suddenly, and I've seen it happen in many rooms, suddenly that change shifts that paradigm, and they start loosening up a little bit and like, okay, well, probably if we don't change, it's not going to be as good. And so sometimes it's really about that engagement, about having people understand that need and making them come up with that sense of urgency rather than impose it top down. So that's what I've seen work in some of the companies that I worked with. And I think that's what we need to start. And I always say, do not resist resistance. That's the first advice that I give everyone, all leaders that want to change. And they get annoyed with the immune system that's kicking in, and they get annoyed with the resistance. And I always remind them, the first thing you want to do if you want to succeed any change program or any change initiative is do not resist resistance, but you need to know how to manage it. The first time I said I don't believe in equality, I was 14. I was in a French class, and it was March 8th, and the teacher told us to say something about what needs to happen for gender equality. And I said, I don't believe in that. And then all the excited kids looked and like, what is wrong with her? And I said, well, because why should we want to be equal when we could do better? And that's where that's where the equity part comes. It's really about listening to the needs of women, because probably the rights or the resources that we want access to may not be exactly what men have right now. And that's why we want to shift that narrative from equality, because it might not be fair to women to give them just equal rights to men, but rather give them the rights that they need in today's world, because things are changing. And with that, I think that's what we need to raise awareness, and we need to educate young women and adult women to understand why we should not ask for equality, but rather define the rights that we need in order for us to thrive. And going back to when you had the perception, I mean, I had a comment, and then I thought we just moved to another topic. I've seen that because, as you know, I run a lot of spaces for women from long time, since such as the Lean In Arabia, and we tell stories in those we call them safe spaces for a reason. And I see a lot of women who seem from the outside very accomplished, top leaders, C-level leaders, but they're really tired and they feel exhausted. And we've seen many women leave the corporate world to go start a small business, or to just start working probably on an NGO, and they just give up on fighting, and these are words that I heard in these spaces, because the environment is not conducive. So it's not about pushing more women to the top, because that's like planting the seed, going back to the seeds. But what about the soil? Is it ripe for that? Are we really giving them the right environment where they can thrive while reaching those C-level positions? Or we're just giving them equality, which could be the unfairest thing that we can do.